Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Earth Sea Love podcast. This podcast is for and about women of colour and our relationship with nature. Hosted by me, Cherie Mack. Hello, it's Cherie here, and I can't tell you how many times I have attempted to record the introduction to this first episode of the Earth Sea Love podcast. Oh my gosh, talk about teething problems. If my voice hasn't been coming out in an echo, then I just failed to press record. So hopefully this time my voice is coming out loud and clear. I am Cherie Mack and I am your host for the Earth Sea Love podcast. And welcome to the first episode. And I am coming to you today nestling a hot cup of oat milk vanilla latte. I am buried under a mountain of blankets, wearing a coat, a woolly hat and a woolly scarf. And yeah, it's July and we might be having that spot of rain, but the temperatures are pretty reasonable. So why so many blankets? Why am I trying to get warm? Because I've just come out of the North Sea. Yep, that's what I do for my nature fix. I get into the sea. I wild swim, rain or shine, any time of day, any time of weather, because it makes me feel alive. This is my way of communicating with nature, connecting with nature, and ultimately connecting with myself. And this is my medicine. And I know it's my medicine because if I miss days or weeks and my mood starts to slide low, I have to check myself and think, what is the matter with me? What is missing? And then I'm reminded, I haven't been in the sea. Get back in the sea, Cherie. Get thee to the sea. And once I do that, the whole world, my whole outlook changes and everything looks brighter, better, just so much more manageable. So excuse me if there's any teeth chattering, because even though it's the summer months, the sea is still cold. There's that shock to your system just as you're getting in. It's like, whoa, am I actually doing this? Yes, you are, and you go. And yeah, so why am I telling you this? Because this is the whole premise of this podcast. The Earth Sea Love podcast is here to explore women of colour's relationship with nature, how we connect with nature. And it's been such a pleasure and an honour to talk to so many different women of colour about their relationship. And it's just as they're a long line of diversity within that group of women of colour, there are a diverse and different and multicultural, multicoloured narratives that are shared within this podcast, because we're all coming at it from an individual lived experience point of view. But I suppose where we come together is within that connection with nature, that way that it feeds our souls, and to have this opportunity to talk about it, to connect with each other about it, and hopefully connect with you about it, is a way for us to change the narrative, to change the ideas that people have, or the attitudes that people have about who has a right to enjoy the natural world, who has the right to access it. And we believe that everybody does. But because of a number of different barriers, attitudes, issues, which we will be exploring throughout this podcast, for some reason, people like us, Black, Asian and ethnic minorities, are missing within the natural world. So, where did this podcast come out of? Well, first of all, we have to thank the National Lottery Heritage Fund for the funding to make this podcast happen. There's a group called Identity on Time, which secured funding from the National Heritage Lottery Fund. The National Lottery Heritage Fund. Yeah, that's it. To facilitate a project which was called Wayfinding: Diversity, Equity and Inclusion in the Great Outdoors. And this project started in 2019. And while we're in lockdown, because of the coronavirus, it's on hiatus for a while. But the project Wayfinding was offering up opportunities for people from the global majority within the Northeast to experience nature in a safe, comfortable and collective way. So there was a series of events. We might go out to the Northumberland National Park, walk along Hadrian's Wall. We might go out to Durham Wildlife Trust, their nature reserve, and study trees and butterflies and birdwatch. We might go wild food foraging down there in Hare Hope Quarry. And all the time, we might be doing things, we might not be doing things, but we're experiencing, developing that closer relationship with the natural world in a safe way, in a group with people that look like us, that we can identify with. And there's something to be had to be able to enjoy that opportunity. So part of that project, the Wayfinding project, was also to collect participant voices. And we were just about to start and do that when we went into lockdown. We were gearing up for our spring and summer events and opportunities. We were booking the buses. We were setting dates in diaries. And it's not happening now. So, as a way of keeping us connected to what we started, to keep those fires burning in our bellies, which have been fueled by learning more about ourselves through fostering this relationship with a tree or a beach, to keep it fresh. This podcast is our way of connecting still, not just with the natural world outside, but also with ourselves and each other. So you will hear some conversations from the participants within the project, but we've also widened it out. This podcast has morphed into something bigger and brighter as we've reached out to our women of colour friends around the world who have generously given their time, their stories and voices to this podcast to share their experiences and relationship with nature. And just as I've said, just as there's diversity within the women of colour group, there will be a diversity of stories and narratives to tell here. So that's the premise of this podcast. Hello, Cherie again, just popping in here to set up the first episode intro. Have I mentioned how daunting it is to begin and start a podcast? I've just been thinking maybe I should do one of those how to do things on starting up a podcast, let you know the behind the scenes process of it all. Because it is time consuming and it is difficult and mistakes are made, but hopefully we're over the worst of it and things is just going to be practice. It's just going to be practice. So you'll notice that we've dropped a number of episodes for the launch. Yay! This is the launch. And that's because we didn't want you to complain. We didn't just want you to listen to one and then have nothing else to listen to after that for months. No, we're giving you this goodness all together so you can keep on trucking. You can keep on listening. So, episode 1, Anita Wan. And I've known Anita for a number of years with circulating in the same cultural heritage circles. But through this interview, this conversation really, we get to know each other much, much better and deeper. And it's all around our connection with nature. And listening back to it as I edit it, it was a case of it's reminded me that, yeah, slowing down and getting into my body, living from my body, that's something that nature reminds me to do. It's a remembering, really. It's a coming back to the self. And I think the conversation that I have with Anita reminds me that again and again. And it's such a beautiful conversation, how we connect on so many similar levels about having an identity in the Northeast and growing up being probably the only person of ethnic minority within a school or within a college or in a university, and knowing and feeling about being an outsider and how we try our best to fit in or be accepted by morphing or changing ourselves. So that's a really interesting conversation that I have with Anita. And we talk about work and we talk about where she's situated and then how, you know, her relationship with nature has developed over the last few years with having an allotment. And you'll probably hear I can gush about the allotment because I'm jealous. I am definitely jealous because to have an allotment, to have a patch of grass or land where you can grow your own produce is like gold dust here. You have to put your name on a long waiting list with the council and you have to wait for years probably. So when you get an allotment, when you get that piece of land, you hold on to it. So we talk about how Anita propagates it, using some lingo there, sowing the seeds on a windowsill, etc., and then popping it in the ground and then waiting all that time, nurturing it, petting them, giving them some love until they're ready to be pulled out and offered up to parents and loved ones of, look, this is what I've created. And a note, I don't know if it's a disclaimer or just a note to put out there. This was recorded during lockdown, during the pandemic, but then also it was also recorded during the times of Black Lives Matter protests and uprising, and it's always going to be relevant, that discussion, because things need to change on a systemic level, and heartens me to think that there are people around the world, black and white, who are coming together to protest, to have their voices heard, to end police brutality against black bodies, to end the killings and the shootings. So yeah, we do discuss that, and I think everyone should be discussing it at this moment, and if there's a silence around it, then that says something as well. So yeah, enough of my voice. Yeah. That's another thing about making a podcast. You can get sick of hearing your own voice. But enough. Let's get into this first episode. I hope you enjoy it, and welcome to the first episode of the Earth, Sea, Love podcast. And if you want to find out more about the podcast and up and coming episodes, check out our website, which is earthsealove.com. Okay. Let's get into this conversation. Thanks for being here.
I've lived here a long time. So I live in a flat, so I don't have a garden, and that's been really horrible.
So where did you say? Sorry, it broke up. Where do you live? I don't want. Oh, Long Benton. Okay. Yeah. All right.
It's like a newish estate just by the metro station. Okay. But I live in a flat.
Yes, we do too. Yeah.
Do you too?
Yeah, we do too. We downscaled once Nene went off, and we just have a concrete yard.
Oh, but you've got a yard.
Yeah, but
gross plants and stuff.
Well, no. Not really. I mean, the weeds are growing, and I love my weeds. I do see my weeds as, they deserve to live just as much as anyone else, so I don't get rid of them. But our neighbours have dogs.
Yes.
That they're allowed to do things in the yard. Yeah.
Oh, yes, that does happen.
Oh, and it's nasty smell. Mm-mm.
It smells.
So
did they not
I have
clear it up?
Oh, eventually. So I have to do a lot of bleaching sort of thing. And I just thought, I'm a bit enthusiastic with the bleach, and I wouldn't want to be putting any of that on any plants, you know what I mean? I'd be killing them and doing good, sort of thing. So yeah, because I'd love to have some raised beds, that sort of thing. But yeah,
they don't poo in your yard, do they?
Sorry?
They poo in your yard.
Well, I'm glad you're on here. What it is, it's a big yard which has been separated by a fence, and we're near the back where the gates open so you can take your bins out, etc. And it's on a bit of a slope. So if their dogs are peeing and doing those things, and then when they do, and then when they might do the cleaning with a hose, well, it comes through ours to get out, doesn't it?
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah. That was it.
Oh, you should swap yards.
No. Yeah. So yeah. So what's outside your window? Is it just other houses?
Yeah. It's not very nice. But at the moment, this windowsill is filled with, I don't know if you can see. Can you see all the little... I'm trying to grow seedlings.
Yeah, it looks like you've got a mini
greenhousey thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely.
With lights. So I've got proper grow lights, so they're on all the time because it doesn't get enough light. So this is the only way I can grow stuff on my allotment because I don't have a greenhouse.
And that was glow lights, did you say?
Grow.
And then,
not clubbing grow lights.
I was just going to say.
That's what I do in front of my plants.
Yeah, okay, I like that. Okay, so right, first, this has all been recorded. Sorry, let's just step back a bit before we get to your plants. Okay, so you've been in lockdown. I'm assuming you're still in lockdown. How's it affected you? How you been keeping care of yourself?
Oh, I would say I've definitely been up and down.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely, and I'm not someone who kind of, I would say I'm more of an introvert. And I kind of, I'm not drawn to big crowds of people. So I'm kind of good in that way. I like my solitude. I think I'm quite a solitary person as well. But it's just when it's not of your choosing.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think I've been so jealous of people who've got gardens and just being able to just sit outside and listen to the birds and things. And weirdly, at this moment in time, I missed like the earlier periods of lockdown when it was really quiet. I wish I treasured that a bit more. The streets with no cars and everything. I kind of miss. I wish there was a bit more of that, because everything's turned quite busy now.
Yeah, and I think it was difficult to appreciate it then, because there was some shock about the what was normal beforehand is just like gone. And I did spend a lot of time just like, I would say I was numb, or even like in a zombie state, like going around within the house, obviously, like, is this happening? What's happening? And to actually get to that point of appreciating the quiet, the slower pace, did take time to get used to that, and then think, oh right, okay, it's an awful thing to say, but I'm enjoying the slower pace, the not here, there, everywhere, and produce, go. That was a beautiful thing. And now you're right, it has gotten more busy and noisy and dangerous. I think dangerous.
Well, yes, there's a lot. Well, people don't know who to listen to, and it's so confusing, the messages. So you do see lots of people congregating. With car use, I remember kind of the first week, a couple of weeks, when it was so quiet, but now it's all the cars are back to normal, and I think we did some good for the environment for a short period.
Yeah, but they do say, isn't it, that all that work that we have done is it's gonna be, I don't know what you call it, but where we were, the level, we're gonna go beyond that level now in terms of the damage that we are doing, because there's that feeling that people have got to catch up, so they're going hell for leather, and anything that they might have learned or take on board during lockdown about the environment, about that appreciation of nature, seems to be like forgotten. It's like, let's just get back to I do feel, and especially where we are, because we're at the coast, and all the time that we were locked down, I was still getting into the sea, and most of the time I didn't see anyone. I would go early morning, and in, out. No issue about social distancing, because there was no one there. And I've seen now it's almost like there's a traffic jam to get into the sea, and then that isn't talking about the people who are walking along or sitting there, and this has been early morning as well, and it has been a case of, once the restrictions about how many times that you are allowed out have been lifted, there has been, especially with the weather, there's been flocks of people coming down to the beach. And I don't believe in this idea that we own nature. We do not own nature. We are in connection with nature, we're in relationship with nature, and we're all equal. But I do sometimes have a possessive feel towards Colour Coats Bay when I've seen loads of people there and they've just left their rubbish, their spare socks or not socks, or their shoes, and I just think, think about it. You're coming to this area. Take your shit home with you.
I know. You've brought it with you. I don't see why it's any more harder.
That's where I get mad. Okay, so the question that I just asked is like, has lockdown affected your work at all? And what do you work as? That was it.
Yes. I work as a heritage consultant, so I work with different kind of museums or heritage sites or local authorities to a lot to develop funding bids, but also carry out projects. Lots to do with audience development and community engagement and the like. But things that work has quietened down in terms of the briefs coming out, but also I think it's partly to do with me as well, in terms of having a bit more time to kind of think and about whether I'd like to do something a little bit different. I do tend to kind of like to do something new every couple or 2-3 years or so. So I'm going to see. And also, I think the pandemic has brought about a little bit of fear in me about job security and kind of feeling that, well, maybe having a job and being employed and being a bit more stable is kind of, it feels more comfortable.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah. So you're saying that you usually have a change every 2 to 3 years. So have you been within this sector for like the heritage sector or communities for a while? But just
for a long time. I would say for quite a while. Since early 2000s. But I've changed jobs frequently, every 3 years or so. I think it's about wanting a new challenge and a new environment, really, and doing something a little bit different, whether because it's a slightly different type of work or a different organisation. I do crave that kind of almost newness.
I totally take that on board. I mean, that was one of the reasons I got out of teaching, because of the regimental timetable. Everybody knows where you are every time, every day, every given, and it was the structure that I was wanting to rebel against. And freelance does offer that freedom, but it does offer that a lot of risk as well.
Yes.
Because I'm assuming that you are freelance, and that's why you're thinking about maybe having something more stable.
Yes, definitely. I've really enjoyed being self-employed and being independent and being able to make all those decisions and being able to work how I want to work. But yes, you have to balance that with that kind of a bit of instability as well. But the pandemic, who'd have thought we'd be at kind of in the middle of something like this? But it brings the fear sometimes takes over, I think, and the confidence to kind of, can I see this through? It's hit so hard on the cultural sector and with funding, so. And everyone's in emergency mode at the moment in terms of organisation. So it's very difficult to see, what's going to happen really in the next 12 months and beyond. Yeah,
I know. I definitely hear you. There is that sense of battering down the hatches a little bit and seeing how things are riding out, and not actually. There isn't that climate at the moment to take risks.
No, it's about survival, really.
It is.
I think.
It is, yeah, totally. Just picking up though on your accent, are you Newcastle, like Geordie born and bred? I mean, like this moves into your family background in a sense, but talk to me. I mean,
I am. I was kind of born and brought up here, but my parents are from Hong Kong. So I'm the first generation born in the UK here, and it's a funny one. I think I've really only started to put down roots here, it feels like, when I came back from university.
Okay.
I went to Liverpool.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, like your
son, yeah.
And I think while I was growing up, kind of during my childhood here, I didn't really feel a strong connection. Like my parents worked in a takeaway. They used to work 7 days a week. So we didn't I didn't feel connected to the place. We didn't really go places because I didn't have time off and didn't have summer holiday. You didn't, So it was only when I came back from university that I started exploring the Northeast a lot more.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange? It's a strange one.
No, it's not. It's not really, because I'm the same with you. I mean, I was born in Bradford till I was 10, and then we came back to Newcastle, Newburn, because that's where my mum's family was, because she's mixed race, but that's where they were based. And all the time that I was there, it's semi-rural, but I was always looking towards the city and actually wanting to get out of there. So when I got that chance to go to London, I did go to London, and it was in London that I felt that I found my black self, because growing up within a predominantly white society, my culture was white culture.
Yeah.
So I had to actively try and find my roots, my heritage, my history through reading and groups and other people at university. And I stayed there to do my teacher training, because that's where, in a city, loads of black kids and Asian kids, so that's who I wanted to teach. And it wasn't until I came back with babes in arms and is trying to create that family base here. And that's what I called it for a while, just my base, because I didn't see it as home. I didn't feel like I belonged here. And that was because of growing up here and having so many racist incidents here, and not actually seeing people that looked like me here. So it wasn't until I had kids and was here, because it was better to bring up my kids here, that I started to explore the Northeast, and trying to find those moments of feeling belonging, or just feeling that I knew the place better. And it is only in the last few years that I've started to think of it as a place that I can belong or feel comfortable and safe in. And that's why I'm living by the sea. It is. It is.
It's really, I think once I came back from university and kind of started almost living here, I felt like I wasn't really living in the Northeast before. It could have been anywhere. That I felt it was really important to stay here, to kind of feel a bit more rooted. For the Northeast to be part of my identity. I've really struggled with my identity, kind of being Chinese, being of kind of children of kind of people from Hong Kong, but then I grew up very much in a white environment at school and friends. And didn't really know many people who were Chinese as well. And not really until university, where strangely because I wasn't white, I was kind of lumped into the international students lot.
Yeah.
In a slightly, stereotyped way. And I wasn't, I didn't speak Cantonese very well at all. But I grew to learn and have a lot more friends from Hong Kong. But then that kind of, when I came back to the Northeast, that's changed as well. But I've always struggled with how Chinese I felt, or how English or British I felt.
Yeah. I can relate with that, definitely. So thinking about, your upbringing, and as you were saying, your parents had the Chinese takeaway and you didn't have holidays. So was going out as a family into the surrounding countryside ever happening then, or not?
Oh, that's a good question that no one's asked me.
No.
It's so obvious, but I don't think anyone's ever asked me that.
Really?
I can't. Do you know, I remember going, we had a day trip to like Blackpool.
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah.
Scarborough.
Yeah. That's funny. From Newcastle, from the northeast. Yeah. That is so weird, because we actually went to Blackpool from Bradford.
All right.
Yeah. Especially when it was around the Illuminations time in October.
All right.
And we also went to Scarborough as well. Are these because these are the seaside resorts, do you think?
Well, yes, I think a lot of families went to but we didn't. Do you know what? I don't think we went anywhere in the northeast, like to Northumberland or anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't remember. They used to work 7 days a week, but then at a certain point they were only working 6 days.
Yes.
They had a Tuesday off.
Yes. Because that is usual for Chinese takeaways.
Yes.
Is there something specific about a Tuesday?
No, it's quite a business day.
Really? Yeah. Okay. All right. That's good to know. Because.
Carry on. Oh yes.
Carry on.
I was going to say, it feels really sad, but so on their days off, if we were off, if it was a school holiday as well, we would go shopping. And me and my brother, it was nothing pleasurable. We were just following our parents behind them around the shops. And yes, I know. No contact really with nature or greenery.
So you've got a connection now. Tell us your connection now with nature and greenery, because I just love hearing about it. So please talk to us about it.
It feels very recent, actually. I think because as a child, I wasn't exposed to that, and also, even though we had a garden, like when we moved house, we had a garden. They were never gardeners. They never really planted anything or grew anything. It was only, I would say, maybe about 6 years ago that I've tried to grow plants. I've got a little, I wouldn't even call it a balcony. It's a Juliet balcony, so you can't walk on it. It's just like a little ledge and the doors open inwards. I started growing some plants and they didn't die. And I thought, oh, this is exciting. Maybe I could do this.
Yeah.
And I just started. That's where it started. I've killed God knows how many, but also through work, when I started working at what's called the National Lottery Heritage Fund, we gave grants to lots of different projects that includes lots of natural heritage projects. And so I got to learn a lot more about kind of nature and wildlife and landscapes and parks through that. And then I applied to do a horticulture course, kind of through work. And so, I was able to kind of learn almost all the basics that kind of some amateur gardeners, have knowledge about anyway. I kind of garnered through that course. And when I left the fund, I took on an allotment. I took it on about 3 years ago. And it was quite exciting and quite a bit daunting. I've never managed a green space before, but it's been fantastic. Especially this year. I mean, this moment in time when I don't have a garden. The allotment, when it's a lovely sunny day, it's a joy.
Yeah. What you growing? How big is it?
Oh, it's I'm not very good at measurements, but it's a half plot, but it's actually a big half plot.
Yeah.
I'm growing purple sprouting broccoli, normal broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, spring onions, potatoes, courgettes and squash, French beans and peas, and flowers. I'm also starting more flowers this year as well.
Oh,
So
sounds
it's become
gorgeous.
It's good because like I think it takes quite a few years to get a plot a bit more established. So I've got a few more flowers and things that are a bit more established, and I've been able to get on top of the weeds finally this year, which has never happened before. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of it, and I love. Oh, do you know what I love? I love growing things from seed. That's the most satisfying thing, and I don't know if you do that much.
Nah. I mean, I'm. When you were saying about the number of plants that you've killed, I was there with you, right? It's like, you know, so I've started like having on my kitchen windowsill some cacti, because they, you know, it takes a lot to kill them off. Really, it does. And since I've had them maybe like a couple of years now, I've branched out into like a rubber plant and a Sharon. And, you know, it's like I'm giving myself a little bit more responsibility to see how I go. Because I'd love to grow stuff more from seed. I really would. But it's having that confidence, having that know-how, and having that faith in myself. Like, you know, the confidence. It is the confidence and the knowledge. And not having that relationship from time or being brought up with that relationship. That knowledge, it does seem like a daunting task. And the thing that gets me is like where to start, because I'm gonna be, you know, the next question I was gonna ask you is like, so what's coming out now? What you're sowing now? What you're eating now? Because this is stuff I don't know. Because I
was gonna say I still feel very much like a beginner.
Yeah.
Compared to all the people at the allotment, and yeah, a lot of people have greenhouses, so they're able to grow lots all at the same time. I'm only growing on my windowsills, so it's kind of like really staggered. So I can grow this much, and then I can move this along to the allotment, and then start another batch.
Got you.
But at the moment, I've got a few more sweetcorn that's still on my windowsill to plant out. I've got bergamot. I've got some poppies. I've got stock, night scented, some salad, and kind of a plant called mange, which is good for cut flowers. So I'm experimenting with lots more seeds this year. But hey, do you know, it's like they're your babies, because I just cut them all the time to see how much they've grown.
And do you talk to them?
I don't talk to them, but I.
What? Sorry, I missed that.
20 times a day.
What did you say? You look at them?
Oh yeah. I just look at them and kind of brush them a bit.
Yeah.
Because it's good to kind of brush them and make them stronger. Because they get stronger. Like, you know, if they're outside and in the wind, they have to become stronger.
Yeah, get a bit hardy.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's lovely just to see, because not everything germinates, so you kind of fingers crossed all the time.
Yeah. So is this, you know, food for your soul? Is this that brings out that inner joy in you, growing plants from seeds?
Yes, it really does. I wish I could do more and learn more. I've just ordered a propagating book, so hopefully that'll come in the post. And yeah, it'd be really. It is. It's just very joyful.
Yeah.
To kind of plant seeds and watch them grow.
Sorry.
I was going to say I also have 2 cats. So I'd love to have more indoor plants, but they get destroyed. So
yeah, it's getting that balance, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Having your furry friends or having your greeny friends, sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, I say about not growing anything when I was growing up, but I've just reminded myself that my dad used to grow tomato plants in the back of bedroom, and they used to get to some height. And I don't know if this was a piece of his own heritage brought to Bradford and carry it on. But I just wish that I had paid more attention then, because they were grown from seed, and they, there was loads of them. I don't know how you grow tomato plants, but the ones that I've seen from friends, they seem to just go like beanstalks. They seem to just go on and they just go on and on. If you know Teresa Easton, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, so she used to have loads of them in her studio, just taking over the windows, and they were like triffids. They just went, for. So I just wish at that point I'd had that, that wisdom as a child to think, oh, look, Dad's planting tomatoes. Let me try and learn how to. But, there. One of those.
You can do it. Because I think I felt the same. You're like, where do you start? And am I going to am I just going to kill everything? But you can just collect the seeds from the tomatoes that you eat and dry them out, and then...
Really?
Yeah. You just need to dry them out.
Oh, I like
Put them on a paper towel and dry them out.
Paper towel.
And then just see if they work.
Oh, I like that. I'll have to come back to you and let you know how it's going. but sorry, carry on.
No. I think it is that thing about confidence, and it feels like a huge obstacle at first. Definitely. I think once you get into it and have a bit more experience, you kind of realize actually you make so many mistakes, and it's all just trial and error.
Yeah, I like.
And it's all just part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is. That's what you're saying. It's all part of it, and that's what gets me. It's the process. Okay, we will get some end product, might be some, might not be a lot, but okay, we get the end product, but it is going through the process of planting, and as you're saying, seeing them grow and then brushing them and nurturing, and you get so much from going through that growth period, and that I could see that, that would really work with me and my the way I feel that I'm set up with my creativity and how it is about the process for me.
You're so right. Actually, I think that's just, you pointing that out is just, I think that is kind of resonates really strongly with me, because I don't grow enough for it to sustain me.
Yeah.
I don't, and a lot of things die. A lot of things get eaten by slugs and pigeons. But it is about, maybe it's a sense of achievement that, you've grown something so tiny, from seed into this massive plant that's been able to fruit. And I do a weird thing, almost being a child again, because and then I present them to my parents.
So you said that you harvest them and then you present them to your parents because you broke up there.
Like, see what I've done.
Oh yeah. Are you proud of me? Are you proud of
me?
Yes. I get that. I so get that. No, that's lovely. It's the case of you are proud of what you've done and you want to share that. And that's another way that we do show our love, isn't it? By sharing our food. But this has an even specialer sort of tinge to it, because I've grown this with my own hands. Yeah.
Well, it's a complicated relationship that I have with my parents. Okay. With the immigrant story of, they all want their children to be doctors or lawyers or engineers and that sort. And I haven't done that. So there's always been a chip on my shoulder.
Yes.
So the vegetables. Is maybe compensating for that.
Yeah, I hear you. I do hear you, because I was brought up with the idea, you get your education, and once you've got that, you can go on and get a profession, and you're set up for life, and that was the dream of immigrants. My dad came over from Trinidad. He was a stowaway. And it was to have that better life, not just for him, but for his children, the next generation. And it was instilled in us that you have to, you have to work hard at school, maybe twice, 3 times, 4 times better than any of the white kids, so you can achieve this. But once you've got this profession, you're sorted. But times have changed, and there is so much more, I don't know, that does get in the way of wanting to fulfill those dreams, because we do have our own dreams that might not involve having a profession or I mean, I'm not and not disrespecting that generation, because we're here because they came here and they worked their butts off for us to have what they didn't have, and I am so grateful for that, and I appreciate that. But there is also that idea of wanting to live my own life and having to live my own life, whatever that might look like. Yeah.
It is, and it's such a cultural thing, I think, kind of for those who come from a different country and kind of a different time as well. And actually, I think kind of normal,
Yeah.
And I think those who have come here, and my parents who have come here, probably think we've been too spoiled.
yeah, you don't know you're born. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they did struggle. They did struggle.
Hugely. Yeah.
That's why, I do respect, and I am grateful to them. But, So just to round up here, sorry, I'm conscious of time, but we have mentioned that you do work within the natural heritage sort of like sphere, and we got back in touch with each other quite recently around your consultation work about how to diversify the local regional countryside, because there is a lack of Black, Asian and ethnic minorities who partake within the natural world around us. So from your side of the table, what do you think needs to be brought about and in changes wise to make it more of a balanced relationship with the natural world for our people in that sense?
Oh, it's a big question, and kind of, I suppose, more pertinent, kind of given everything that's happening at the moment with the protests and Black Lives Matter. I think it's about voice and representation. It just isn't there. Not there at all. From kind of workers and staff who within the sector to kind of those in kind of senior positions and kind of governance and all that sort of thing. It's not there. But I would like to kind of think that things are changing. I think I didn't have much experience of kind of the natural world and natural heritage when I was young. But even growing older and being kind of as a young adult and being in my 20s and going out with my friends, maybe on for walks and things, I would be so self-conscious. I was so that I was the only person of colour in like a village or in a kind of woodland, and kind of everyone that I thought everyone would just be staring at me. And I think that has changed. That is changing. And especially kind of, I suppose, people of colour who've been born and brought up here, kind of second, third generations. And you know what? I kind of, something that has been different during this pandemic is people of colour just walking on the streets, just going for a walk, going out for, whether it's kind of, because I'm a volunteer dog walker.
Yes.
And I walk a dog really near me, and we've got, the old wagon ways.
Yeah.
So there's a big trail all around kind of near where I live. So I take the dog along there, and I see so many more kind of Asian families or Asian grandparents, they look like older people and grandparents, just because we can all go out for a walk. It's healthy during this kind of time. And that's never really been something I've seen lots of.
Yes, that's interesting. Yes.
It's almost that that we've been given permission in a way, not that we've ever needed permission.
But I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. And that's from an individual level or an individual family unit level, that because it's a case of like we've been told you can go out once a day and get walking, that we've done it. And because we've had that time and space to do it as a family. I mean, we started running at the beginning of this lockdown.
Wow.
Yeah. Let's just say it hasn't been kept up because it takes a lot of energy out of you when you have to pull a 10-year-old behind you or push in front of you. But yeah, I can see that. But the other thing is what you're saying about being at the table where these decisions are made and having that voice and having that representation, and hopefully we're going to see a change around how these committees are made up. But what I'm thinking is that there's going to have to be some kind of different criteria used in how they appoint or how they invite these diverse people onto their committees, because a lot of the time one of the stipulations for being on there is having a relationship, say, with this park, and having experience of this park, or having experience of being involved in conservation and protection, etc. And that just isn't there on the whole. So that has to be either wavered or taken into consideration. But then also, I think, is that the people that do get on these positions, who are from different ethnic backgrounds, also have to be seen being on these committees as a human being, not just because you tick this box for diversity. Yeah. Do
Yes, I can see where you're coming from. I think how I feel about it is that because there's so much to do, there's so much to fight, that almost like you have a responsibility on your shoulders to kind of represent kind of people who look like you and to fight for it. I almost feel, and I know we're all human beings and we have different, reasons and interests. I think kind of we need to do as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
No, I totally hear you. And I agree. I totally agree, because, if I am coming to this table, I am going to be thinking I need to represent.
Yes.
Yeah. But in that same instance, I want you to recognize me as a human being as well, and not just a colour at this table.
Yes. Well, yeah. No, sorry. Yes, I know what it is.
But exactly. I mean, but it can only happen if we have these opportunities to have this conversation and dialogue, etc.
It is, and there's at the moment I think there's a movement kind of that's really strong that I haven't really seen for a long time, and that's really positive. I think the proof is in the pudding, as we all say, and until actually individual institutions and organizations really take a long, hard look at themselves and what needs to change and their biases and kind of the structural inequalities that are in place.
That's it.
They can, they can tweet as much as they want in support of the movement, but it's the action.
It's the action. It's the action. Totally.
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, I'm just going to say it's been lovely. It's been lovely chatting to you. And
it's been lovely chatting to you.
And
really good.
We might not have seen each other's faces towards the end there, but I have heard your smiles, and I so appreciate your support for this podcast. I really do. And I think we're having important conversations, and I just need to get my finger out now and get editing and get them out there. Because the conversations are awesome. And it's getting into the technical now that I need to do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a nightmare?
I hope not. Because I'm hoping, I mean, like, once we got into it, once we got past the techno problems, it was smooth running, so I don't really have to edit that much, not at all. It's just, getting that jingle at the beginning, and the funders' names in there, that sort of thing. But I'm hoping to get them out in July, start getting them out. So as soon as they are, I will let you know, and I'll let you know specifically when yours is coming out, because you've got, I suppose with the camera going out, it has been an advantage because you've got such a beautiful voice, and it has been so lovely listening to you and you sharing. So I want to thank you, and just
you're very welcome.
The Let's See Love podcast has been made possible by the funding from National Lottery Heritage Fund. Thank you.